It's Native Robin, and today it's kind of rainy, kind of been dry, so I'm looking forward to a day inside. And I thought, hey, I can get some of these odd jobs done I've been wanting to do in the house. So today we're going to can French fries the old-fashioned way in bell wire jars. Check it out. When you use bell wire jars, you're going to need a rubber sealer. Now, this box here is an old-fashioned, got it from an antique store, and the rubbers kind of look like this. Now, if you'll notice, there is a little indentation in the top, where actually that would split, and you would just pull this right in two, and then you could just easily take the glass cap off without crack or breaking it. Now, Ball don't make these anymore, so a company called Viceroy. And now you can get these through Lehman's online, or you can go to Amazon. Now, I hate buying from Amazon, except for the shipping kills you. If you buy just a few boxes, the shipping is as much as the seals from Lehman's, where Amazon Prime you get free shipping. So that's kind of a deal breaker for Lehman's. But now they're similar in that they have the tab. Now they sell them with and without the tab. They're really not made to be split. You can kind of tell, a little different. Now as far as the thickness of these two go, I wanted to show you, because I was like, well, they don't make them like they used to. It might be slightly thinner. It is thinner, not by a lot. Now the thing is, they say back in the old days, don't reuse the rubbers, kind of like what you hear now. But Tadler, which advertises, oh, these will last for years and years. Look how thin that rubber is. I mean, it's significant. It's half. It's half the thickness of these other ones. Now, if you can use a Tadler lid for years and years, well, you can't use one of these for years and years. So, anyway, we're going to find out. I'm going to can someday using these new ones from Viceroy. Okay, so the ball jars that say Ideal on them and have this particular emblem was made from the 1930s up until 1962. So these jars, although this jar, it could be 80 years old, it's probably not, but either way, I look for jars that don't have a rusty wire, and generally are, no chips or anything here. Really, you never really see too many chips on the top because they always have this wire lid or this glass lid. Now, these are what's, there's a lot of these without a lid because someone broke it. But they're pretty hardy. I've dropped them by accident and they haven't broke. Now the old-fashioned lid, I'm thinking, well, how hard was that to get on there? Well, you can see you got to really stretch that baby on. Actually, it's lost its elasticity, but these new ones, you can stretch them on there. So I thought they would just drop on, but that's not the case. So that might be why they're so thick, because they get stretched thin a little bit. Ah, there you go. Now, you want to make sure your tab isn't sticking where it's going to come in, get in the way, so I'll put it on the back. I'll put mine on the back. There we go. Make sure it's down all the way around. Now, the cap goes on like this. On the jars, it will say, I don't know if you can read that, bell wire side. So make sure if you've taken the wires on and off, like you can, if you have jars that are missing wires, after it's sealed, you can take this wire off and use it on another jar. They just come right off. They just, see, they just go in the holes in the jar. So even if you can get jars cheap that don't have wires on them, we can reuse these wires. Okay, so here's what you want. Here's what you look for. When you put up the big wire across the top, it should click. You hear a click. Listen. Hear that? There. So that means it's down. It isn't rattling. Now they say if you don't realize, you don't know if the wire is tight enough, you can put some liquid in here. Put a little bit of liquid in. Hold it upside down. If it don't drip, it's fine. And then the other thing is they were often saying that after 3 or 4 years of using the wire, that it could, just get bent normally out a little bit. So all you got to really do is just take and bend the wire down a little, just till you get this, a little sound. Now, you run it through the pressure cooker or the water bath or the steamer, whatever you're using, and then as soon as you take it out, you close that side. And that really pulls it down. Then just let it cool. And then once it cools, you take and let it loose. Lift that up, pull that off, and check to see if the cap is sucked down tight. If it is, it's sealed. Now you also kind of want to make sure that you keep the lid from not moving when you clamp it down. So, make sure you're centered up. Now, the controversy of the day was, do I have to wait until I take it out to put the wire down? And what they found out is, even when you clamp that down, the air can still escape out, and there was virtually no difference. But still, the recommended way is just to wait until you take it out. Just as long as this baby's here snug, you're good to go. And that's what we're going to do. Okay, so with traditional jars, you generally fill it up until you hit the ring on the bottom of the jar. And that really does look like about the same amount of clearance. And with potatoes, they're not goopy or messy, or they're going to be French fries. So I'm really not worried about the head space as much on it, And now we're going to use the conservo today, the steamer. So the jars are clean, washed. They're not sterilized, but because the conservo steamer will sterilize everything, it's going to be okay. So we're going to cold pack. We're going to then put these in the steamer for 2 hours per the manual. Now, when I first put these in, it's going to bring the temperature of the steamer back down a little because these aren't hot. So I want to watch. I got a temperature gauge I leave in there, and I'm going to want it to get back up to temperature, and then I'll start counting the 2 hours. So, and I can't go overboard. A lot of times I'll run it over to 20, 30 minutes just to make sure. When you pull it out, you'll see the contents is boiling. I'll show you. It's pretty cool. I don't know why we still don't use steamers. But anyway, let's get cracking on the fries. So I grew potatoes last year. I got to tell you, number one, they're a lot of work. Number two, I ain't very good at it. So I was in Sam's Club, and they had these 10-pound bags. Now, I got to tell you, not too long ago, there was 15-pound bags. Now there's 10-pound bags. But these are rust. It says all natural. I guess that's a good thing. It doesn't say organic or anything like that. But select, I don't know. Hopefully they're going to be good. Now, I was watching a YouTube channel called Her Homesteading Skills, and she had this little flimsy chrome chopper potato slicer, and she was doing these itty bitty potatoes. And I'm like, that ain't gonna work. We need big potatoes. So I got on Amazon, and it's funny because like a couple weeks later, she says, hey, I bought this new slicer because the other one only does small potatoes. So I got this bigger slicer, potato dicer. You can see it's pretty cool. I like the small fries better than the fat fries. And this one came with 3 different sizes of disc in it. Now they even got one that's got 5. It's because it's got like dill to cut, spear pickles and stuff. But I'm not going to do that. But I think if I put in sliced potatoes or something sliced and then diced it in cube stuff, so that'd be kind of cool. But this is industrial grade. Cast iron. Just go on Amazon, put in a potato slicer, cuber, whatever. It'll French fry slicer, and you'll find it. But so far, I mean, it looks pretty beefy. I'm ready to fire this baby up and see what we get. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel all these, toss them in some water, and then slice them. As I slice them, I'm going to go back in the sink, soak them, and just change out the water a few times and try to get rid of as much starch as I can. I'm not going to parboil them. You know, I don't want them to get too mushy. I'm afraid if I overcook them and then pressure can them, they're just going to turn to mush. So anyway, I'm going to get started on this, and I'll bring you back when I'm getting ready to slice some potatoes. Pro tip, don't let your potatoes set too long. I had let that other bag, the first bag, set for 2, maybe rubbing 3 weeks, and honestly, they started rotting on me. I never seen anything like it. Used to, a bag would sit around underneath the cupboard for a month, no more. So I don't know how long, how old the produce is before it hits the shelves these days, but pro tip, don't let them set long before you use them. So let me do this other bag, this other 10-pound bag, and then we'll get to the fun part. Hang in there. Okay, so I got all the potatoes sliced up. Now my potato dicer slice or French fry slicer come with these little suction cup feet, but some genius put a textured countertop in here so suction cups won't stick to it. So I just left them off for now. I may find out that I need them to keep it from scratching the top or not. I don't know. First time I've ever used it, so let's throw some taters in here and check them out. I'm just going to shoot them off into the to the sink. Here, let me get this. Okay, so I got this big old lever. Let's try it. Let's try it. First potato ever in my slicer. Holy Toledo! Look at those. Just like Ronald McDonald makes them. Awesome. This is going to be fun. Oh my God. That's a big one. Oh man, yeah. These little ones go boink. Some of these were good size, and then some of them I had to cut so much off of them that, man, this is amazing. Oh my God, this is also going to be a ton of French fries. I don't know if I realized how many this was going to make. Yeah, the fat ones take a little extra. And the little ones are like nothing. Here's another big one. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to keep going with this, and I'll get back with you in a minute. Well, I got the conservo out there heating up. I'm going to start loading these jars. Now, keep in mind we're cold packing, because with the conservo, it sterilizes everything at the same time it preserves the food. Now, normally you would pressure cook potatoes for 40 minutes for quarts and 35 for pints at 10 psi if you're not up in the mountains. But with the conservo, you can preserve anything fit to eat, but the times are way long, like 2 hours plus for potatoes. So I'm gonna go ahead and load these babies up, and I'll show you kind of what I'm doing. So it seems I went ahead and put a teaspoon of salt in every jar, teaspoon for quarts and a half a teaspoon for pints. I'm going to kind of lay these in here like this for the most part. Since these are all such big potatoes, seems like it's going to be pretty easy to get a bunch of them in there. Now I don't need to get I guess, too carried away because I live alone other than my cats, and I've never seen a tater-eating cat yet, so I'm not sure how many I need, but I like leftovers too. So we're going to fill these babies up, and then I'm going to go ahead and fill the water in up to the bottom ring on the jar. Now with all jars, I like to either use the handy dandy plastic thing that you can get in those kits, you know, for canning to remove the air bubbles. I've seen people use chopsticks. You can use, I got like a skinny spoon that I've used before to get down in there. But honestly, this thing, because it's flat, fits down in the edges of the jar really good. And I always get pretty good, get them out pretty good with that thing. I really don't want anything sticking above the water. Now, since this is a different setup here, and I'm not concerned about chunks of food on the edge, I just don't want any salt or anything like that. So I went ahead and wiped off the edge. I'm going to put on the ring, making sure the tab is to the back and out of the way of all the wires. Just start it on one side and pull it over. Kind of use your thumbnail to flatten her out. Looks pretty good. Now I'm going to take a glass, make sure that it's lined up so that you can bring that wire up. Bring out the longer outside wire, and you want to hear the click. That wasn't a very good click. So I'm going to bend that wire slightly. Okay, so I took the wire off, and I found like a curved area, and I smooshed that wire down a little bit. I was able to bend it slightly, and now it's sealing pretty good. See how it's sealed on? So then as soon as I take it out, I'll just flip that wire down. So I think we're in good shape. So my first jar of French fries. Okay, so we got a dozen quarts, and I had enough pieces, little pieces left over. I decided to go ahead and stuff them into a pint jar. I mean, I could cook those up for hash browns or something. There's no sense, it wasn't enough to make a quart, but there wasn't no sense in letting them go to waste. I didn't feel like eating potatoes tonight, so let's get these things into the conservo. Oh, that handle's hot. Okay, so it's more than boiling. It's 220. I'm going to lose a little bit of heat loading this. Plus the jars are not hot. I like that thermostat in there because it lets me check when it's up to temp. I just put 6 in the top because I wanted to have room for the thermostat. So we'll go ahead and leave room down here for the pint jar. 7 down here. There we go. So I know from experience that it takes 20 to 30 minutes to get it back up to temp after loading it with non-hot items, plus holding the door open. So I'm just going to go ahead and set the timer for 2 hours and 30 minutes. Well, we're at the 2-hour time. Now I left it in plenty. The reality is when I filled that thing full of quarts that were not at temperature, it took another 45 minutes to get this back up to temp. But I didn't start the 2 hours until it reached back up to the max of it. I think it percolates along at 220 degrees in there, 215. So it's over boiling, that's for sure. So now I got to take them out, and when I set them down, I got to push the lid, the wire down to lock them down. I'll let you see where I set them and pushing them down. Well, I did see that there's a little starch buildup inside some of the lids where it was splashing, but I'm guessing that that'll, you know, if you swish it around in there, that'll go away. But so far, so good on this. Well, that was fun. It took a while, but I will say this. In my normal canner, I can only get 7 quarts. And that takes a good amount of time to get it up to temperature, to vent it, to process it, to then let it cool back down, go back to 0, take them out, then put another batch in, start all over again. And I'm guessing the timing would be pretty darn close, maybe even just a hair longer. So the 2 hours on the steaming, which was in reality about 3 hours, you know, by the time I let it get back up to temperature. But everything looks good. I think it turned out fine. What'll be interesting is tomorrow, after they've cooled for, you know, cooled all the way down, I'm going to loosen the wire and see just how many of them sealed. I'm hoping that they all did, because I really want this to work. These rubbers and these jars are way more heavy duty than the Tadler lids. So if these will work and I could use them over and over, this is going to be great. So hang in there, and tomorrow morning we'll check them in one last time. Well, it's the next morning and the jars are all cooled down. And I was getting ready for work, and I thought I would just real quick show you on the jars. We lift the bell wire up, pull the top wire off. It's sealed beautifully. It's sealed beautifully. It's so cool to see these jars that are anywhere from 50 to 80 years old. Chuck a new seal on it and you're off to the races. But now this is going to be great. All I got to do is pour this out into a colander, kind of rinse them off, pat them dry on a cookie sheet, put them in the oven, bake them with some seasoning, and you got some great French fries. Now, the way the potatoes are, I told you earlier, I'll buy a bag of potatoes at Sam's Club, and they don't last a month. They start to rot. I had some that had some critters that I don't know what was, some gnats and stuff started forming on them, around them. So this way, they'll last 5 to 10 years in a jar, which is not going to last that long because I'm a vegetarian and I eat a bunch of veggies. So anyway, that is canning French fries the old school way. Hope you enjoyed my video, and I hope you enjoyed my channel. As always, keep visiting back because there's always something going on at the farm. Until next time, this is Native Robin. Happy trails.